Right then, sat behind me is something rather rare. It's a rotten Land Rover. And in today's episode, we're going to be replacing these rusty floor pans with these shiny new ones. So if you've been following along with the build, you'll know that this is Greg's recovery Land Rover with a spec lift on the back that we're putting this rather lovely looking 6BT Cummins into. Now today, we're not doing anything with this engine, so let's get this moved out of the way. Let's attack the chassis. So if you watched the last video, you would have seen how we got to this stage and you would have seen the problems we found. But let's just remind ourselves, let's go in and have another little look at the rust, have a look at the problem, work out a plan, and work out what more of this gubbins we've got to remove. So inside the vehicle here, you can see the terrible problems. So this floor pan is well, pretty much non-existent now. So all the mounting points for the foot plates are gone. But it is, I mean, it's fairly solid up there. It's obviously just had some strips down here. I think a lot of the time this comes from the vents and sort of runs down and all through the door seals and stuff like that, and your wet wellies and things like that. The other side is much the same. So it looks like we're going to have to get these pedals and whatnot out. Thankfully for the Cummins, that pedal's got to come out anyway because we don't need an electronic throttle anymore. Oh. We take a look now from the outside in. So these are obviously where the footwells are. Again, not too bad at this level. Maybe a bit of crust there. Nothing too major. But yeah, if we have a look down in here is probably the easiest bit. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're gonna get cold feet driving this truck, I reckon. So these are the replacement floor pans we've got. So they're the big bits of folded metal. That's the driver's side, as you can see, for the brake pedal box and the clutch there. It also comes with these additional side pieces here. Now, what I am wondering is if we can be a little bit lazy here and not use all of that, because not all of it's rusty. But before we get there, let's get a few more bits stripped off. Let's clear out this bulkhead, make ourselves a bit of room, because we don't want to be setting fire to everything. Well, we do, but we shouldn't set fire to everything. It's not my truck. So I'm going to begin by removing everything at sort of this level down, although we will take that heater matrix out as well. And what I want to do is just be able to inspect the condition of everything up here and see if we can get away with just cutting it here and replacing this lower half. And that's going to save us a lot of time and a lot of work. Right then, well that's all looking much easier now, isn't it? So if we have a look at this side, which is the good side, thankfully everything up here looks okay. So I'm pretty confident we can get away with just replacing the lower half of this floor pan. Keep wanting to say floor plan. Right. So yeah, I'm sure we can just replace up to there. We haven't got to rip everything out of here. That's going to save us a nice amount of work. It's all good steel left there, so there's literally no point replacing that. If it's not rotten, don't replace it. This side, however, this side is not looking quite so clever. So we've got quite a bit of rust up in here, which is around the sort of heater matrix and stuff. Now that, I'm not sure whether our repair panel actually goes up that high. So you can see up in here, I guess this is where the door seal has been going or something. You Land Rover boys might be able to tell me what's caused that or exactly where that water's come from. But I'd assume down from the vents in the bulkhead and from this seal here. So this side we're gonna have to have a bit of a think about and just see, because that's starting to go up there, but that bit's all right. We may end up just having to make up some patches and stuff for this bit up here if our repair panels don't cover it, and we'll see what we can do. But let's go and have a cup of tea and get back to this in a minute. Right, so I've come up with a bit of a plan. Because all this section up here is still okay, we're going to leave it alone. And we're going to make a nice cut along here with a grinder, just below these 4 bolt holes. That'll give us a nice, easy area to weld to, and it means we don't have to mess with too much other stuff up here and move this bracket and things like that. What we do need to do is mark the position or measure the position of this bracket so that we can replicate it on the new floor pan, and the same with this one. And then we need to cleanly cut them off so that we can reuse them. Once we've got a nice straight line marked here, we can then work on removing some of this seam sealer and drilling out the spot welds here so that hopefully we can simply peel this panel off, slide in our new one. Our new one will also have to be cut to the same size to fit in there nicely, and we'll try and get the best fit there possible to make our life a little bit easier. So let's get going. So these panels are spot welded together and then seam sealed. Now we've got to try and get this seam sealer off. I'm going to do that the only way I know how. So we're going to try fire. If that doesn't work, well then, I guess we'll just go to the pub or something. Oh no, it's all on fire. That's all the brake cleaner I spilled. Stop it. Thank you. Let's try again. So I've got this all cleaned up nicely here using a flat disc and a wire wheel on a drill. What I'm going to do now is try and cut this line nice and straight, and then we'll work from this side doing as many of these little spot welds as we can, drilling them through with a drill. So we'll center punch them and then drill them out. Once we've done that, we'll then go inside, because we'll have to get these lower ones, or what's left of them, from the inside, the little spot welds. Then we can work on peeling this all off with a hammer and a chisel. Oh yeah. This side is all now cleaned up, all the rusty bits are out, and that's just about ready to weld. But what I thought I'd do is, while I'm absolutely hating life working on a rusty Land Rover, I'd carry on with more rust. So we're going to start and we're going to prep this side, and then we'll do all the welding at once. Now this side's a bit more extreme than the other side, as we've already seen. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to get this door off, because we need to get in here, get this seal out of the way, and get in behind here where it's starting to blow through as well. And we're going to have to get a load of this dashboard out, because it's right up in under there. So what we'll do is we'll disconnect the many electrics and body control modules that control the Land Rover left-hand door, and we'll whip that off. I'm just trying to get this passenger door off at the moment, and you can see that at some point there's been a bit of a repair here. There's a bit of almost fiberglassy stuff here. You can see the lines of where some filler's been added, and you can kind of feel it. So not quite sure what's going on behind there, but unfortunately this bolt is spinning. I assume it's something to do with the rust that was in this area. They've got little captive fasteners here, and this one's broken inside, so what we're gonna have to do is just drill the head of this bolt out, and we'll try and get that out once the door's off, so we can fix that later on. So I've ended up taking both doors off because that's just going to give us much better access and stop us from damaging everything. It also gives us a little bit more light for you guys. And what I'm doing now is I've got to work on getting at least the bottom half of the dashboard out, because obviously the rust is here. So we've got to be cutting and welding in there, and don't really think Greg wants a drippy dashboard, to be fair. Well, there we are. The dashboard is out. I didn't film too much of that because that's just a right pain in the arse, to be honest. I wanted to get through it. But we can now get to the rust. Yay! So, it is tracking up here a little bit as well. Look, a bit of rust there. What we're going to have to do, I think, is just start cleaning it up. And then we'll know for sure how bad it is, because it's quite hard to tell sometimes. When you've got paint and stuff everywhere, you don't really know what's behind everything. Right, well that's all the big bits cut out that need to be cut out. There's a little bit of tidying up to do and a little bit of flat disking still to do. On this side I ended up taking the side footwell panel out as well, because there was a bit of rust growing around the side panel, and it's going to make the whole job a bit easier with this one because there's a lot of repair work to do on this side. I'm actually quite tired, quite bored of grinding, and quite hungry now, so I'm going to head on home, get myself a nice bit of beauty sleep, and we'll attack this again on a new day. So we're in here for a new day, and what I've been doing since you've been gone is having a little bit more of a clean up. As you can see, I've got a little bit excited and cut some more rust out, so we've got more patches to do. But here now I'm just test fitting the new floor pan, and what I'm seeing here as I test fit it is areas that need extra clean up, because obviously I can't weld through that paint, and you know, just getting a feel for how it all fits, making sure it all goes in okay before we get the welder out. Now I know which sort of extra bits of cleanup I need to do. I'm going to carry on and do those. I'm also going to take the floor pans out. I'm going to spray all the surfaces behind them and around them and on the floor pans where sort of two seams are going to meet. There, for example. So I'll spray those two faces with some weld-through primer, and that will just protect it a bit more for the future. And in areas like here, we're going to drill a load of holes, and that will allow us to spot weld through this panel into this panel. So let me get on with that. I'll give it all a quick spray up, a little bit more of a flat disc, and then we can cut that one to size, because so we got to cut this one so it will fit and match this seam here, and then we can sort of get on and get welding. So then the weld through primer's now dried, and I'm just doing the sort of final fit up of these panels. So I've drilled a number of, oh, that is really nice, isn't it? Focus. Oh, focus. So I've drilled a number of holes down here, and that is for us to plug weld through. Now the rest of this I'm just going to seam weld, because you know the idea of having a spot weld is because you've got a spot welder. I don't have a spot welder, I've got a MIG weld, and we're going to be sort of seam welding a lot of these other bits. So what we're going to do now is we'll sort of set it up in vaguely the right position, and we'll start tacking it in place, and then we'll sort of massage it and position it as we go. But yeah, let's get cracking. So I've got it clamped up here, and I've got my welder set up. I'm just going to spot weld in along this seam. I'm not going to film this because the lighting is terrible here. I've got my flash on, but it's not going to film very well. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done, and then we'll work on the rest of it. I should be able to film some of the rest of it. Right, this side's all plug welded in, and what I've done is positioned this other panel up to it, giving it a little tack weld there. And now I'm going to work on that side, get the top of that side position, work my way down, tacking it all as we go, and then we'll try and line up these sort of gaps here, this gap here, tack everything together, and then we can work on welding it all up. Once that's done, I'll get on and I'll do the other side, which I've cut and painted as well. We'll get that tacked in, get that welded in, and then we'll make up these sort of infill panels here to repair the extra bit of rust we've got to deal with. So let's get into it.
These hands of mine have got some stories to tell. Seen parts of heaven and a whole lot of hell. Headed west to stake a claim in the ground. I got as far as Cripple Creek that night. I met a girl with golden hair and green eyes. Fell in love on the outskirts of town. Hung my hat.
Right then, well that's both the repair panels back in place, and it turned out pretty good, all welded in. We'll do a bit of cleaning up with the grinder, and then we'll paint some seam sealer over everything. That'll stop any water ingress or more rot. But what I'm going to do now is go and have a spot of lunch. And when I come back, we'll work on that area right there, that little letterbox we've created. So we'll fill all that in, clean it all up, seam sealer it, bit of primer, mint. So in this world of modern technology, I thought it was about time I caught up. So to fix this rather complicated shape here, I'm going to use CAD design. So I've got myself a lovely bit of cardboard here, and I've sketched out by sort of tracing with this in behind with my Sharpie the rough shape, and then the bit I couldn't get the Sharpie to, I've just sort of thumbed it in gently, and then we've got ourselves a nice little line there. So I'm going to cut this out now. We'll then recheck the fitment, and once we've got our stencil or our cardboard aided design to the correct shape, we'll then transfer it to a lovely bit of steel. All right, well, I'd say that's looking pretty bloody good for the first one. So this little bit here, I'll just extend along. There's this little piece that goes in there, remember? So when we transfer it over to metal, I'll just cut a little bit of a longer slither there. I didn't quite have a big enough piece of cardboard. So let's transfer this over, get this cut out, get that tacked in. Then we've got one other little strip that's got to go in up there. And then it's just repairing this old dog up here. We've got to put a few holes in here as well. That's just for the bolts for the sort of hingy things there, the latchy things, but we'll sort that out when we get to it. Okay, not bad. I'd give it a little trim up around that little square hole there, but all in all, fits pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is just mark and drill the holes for the little hinge bracket down there, and then we'll get this one welded in. Got a nice sheared off bolt here, so I've just welded a nut on. Let me get this stud out, and then what I can do is mark these hole positions from the back through the bulkhead, as you can just down in there see the end of the stud I'm getting out. So I can mark it with a Sharpie from the back, which is quite nice, and we can drill them out much bigger, so we've got a load of clearance around it, and then get on with welding. Right, well that's this side finished now too. So I've obviously welded all the way around here, and I had to get up in there and sort of plate with 3 plates in that corner there, just to rebuild that area. On the inside, it's all much the same, just the other side, and I can't even see it, but there is a plate up in there as well. What I'm going to do now is clean all these welds up with a flat disc to hide my welding, and then we will spray it with some primer, as I have done on this side already, and then we will paint some seam sealer over it. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it, and then I'll catch you up in a sec with a pot of sealer. Right, so we've got our pot of seam sealer here, which is real gloopy, masticky stuff. What we're going to do is paint this over all the weld seams, and that's going to give it an extra seal, an extra layer of corrosion protection stop any water getting in between the two pieces of metal or into the cab. So I'm going to go ahead and do this side because the paint's dry on this side. I'll show you a bit of the outside, and then I'm going to crack on and finish it, and I'll show you all when it's done. Right, well there we are. Every joint is now sealed inside and out. It's all looking much nicer, much more watertight, much more car, less Flintstones. Now, one thing you might notice is these are the ledges down in here. So they have some rust in them, and I haven't bothered repairing them because we might have to in the future. I'm pretty confident we're going to have to cut some of this out to fit around the gearbox, which is also the same reason why I haven't gone ahead and painted any of this or reassembled any of this. We're going to get the engine in first, get all the fabrication work done, and then when we know where the gearbox tunnel has got to go and such like, we will then paint it, colour match it to the rest of the car. There's also some touch-up work to be done around here and around here because the paint has sort of bubbled because we put quite a lot of heat into it when we welded it, which is just a factor of what we're doing here. When you're welding, cutting, grinding, all of that sort of stuff, you are putting heat into things, so there is going to be a bit of damage elsewhere, but we will fix all of that in the future. Right, thank you for watching along. I hope you found that either enjoyable or informative. In the next episode, we're going to be stripping down our LT230 transfer case and modifying it to accept the new torque band of the Cummins and the output shaft of the ZF gearbox. So that's going to be quite an in-depth little video. I hope you come back and watch that. But if not, thank you for watching this episode, and I'll see you again next time.